And once again, the magic machine tells me that I'm live. And once again, I greet the world and accept the magic machine's premise that I'm live. We say hello to Jilly Beans. First in the live chat, we say hello to Tolkien Study. Second in the live chat. Gold medal onto thee, Jilly Beans. Bronze. Silver. Freudian Olympic slip there. Silver. Tolkien Study. Jonaside, bronze onto thee. Jonaside, bronze onto thee. Welcome to the live chat, and we begin. To those that may come in the future, you're welcome. Just leave the money at the dresser. He thinks he's cute. Listen, to those that may come in the future, I don't have a script. I will just attempt not to waste your time, but this is a live stream. This is a live stream. Do you like role-playing games? Do you like tabletop role-playing games? Because I have several books in front of me, a plethora of role-playing game books in front of me that I will talk about at my leisure as they trigger my thoughts, trigger in the best possible meaning of that term. And the title will hopefully not prove to be a lie. I intend to be on this topic, though I talk about this not having a script. We say hello to Mario Heat. Mario Heat. I'm not excited nor unexcited. I did not play the video game Mario Heat. Mario Heat is asking about the Last of Us TV show if I'm excited about it. It looks good. I mean, it certainly looked good. It looks well made. Tolkien says I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077. It's a role-playing game and it's really good. Well, with all things related to Tolkien Study, except possibly anything related to studies in the pure sense of the term, I'm not asking you to prove it to me. I'll take you at your word. It's not my intention to make a clickbaity video. It's not my intention to waste your time. But it is my intention to find out how I'm working here. I'm a man with a story, a man with a legacy. Some of my legacy follows me. Tim Frey's here. Speaking of Tolkien Study, some of my legacy follows me. Like a bad penny. Or a major laser video extra who won't get the hint. Or a person who thinks he's Tim Heidecker. No, I'm kidding. Mario Heat. RE Solo Cup Day. Are you a Canadian redneck? Do you think are you under the impression that that's a Canadian thing? And for those people, like I speak about, the people who follow me, I listen, first of all, Tolkien Study, Jonaside. Tolkien Study is one of these people who follows me under like 35 assumed aliases because they're wanted by the guy who's speaking to you. Anyway, Mario Heat is another refugee from my other. I can't talk. The guy who sued me is just out here with his pants around his ankle, and I can't say a goddamn thing because the lawsuit against me is still outstanding, because the lawsuit against me will probably never resolve, because due to COVID, like it seems like anything filed in like calendar year 2020, like 19 is going to resolve sometime in calendar year 2032. So, I just have to hang out by the wayside being like, isn't it wonderful to like learn how to deal with the frustrations of life in a positive direction and positive new way? And um it's just, you just gotta deal with it. But we deal with it and we just say, hey, ain't life a trip? It is, folks, and we come here to role playing game land, and we see, like, look, it's the same old song and dance. So I came to role playing game world, and wherever you go, there you are, and you know, the egomaniacal superstar feels like he has imposter syndrome amongst the dorks and the nerds who he thinks he's better than and who he can't stand. But it's fucking true. This whole OGL thing, it's so insufferable. But just people being people. But and people can feel insufferable sometimes. But we just come to new lands, and I think people. I'm realizing that I'm here in tabletop role playing game land because I was in conspiracy theory land for a period of time, because that was a space that honestly interested me, and we were there for the period of time that made sense and it was relevant. And then that whole thing obviously ran its course. Like, that whole thing was obviously a big trip and a big experience, and it seems like we say also says if it say hello to the elephant in the room. um when something runs its course, it runs its course, and you can bow out gracefully, and understand that you can have like the college reunions. You can come back and be like, hey, what's up, and here's an announcement or whatever. But you got to understand that you know if you stay, it's like you don't want to be the old guy at the club, right? You don't want to be the old guy at the disco. Like, you know what I mean? Don't overstay your welcome. Like, you go with the natural flow. Or if you don't go with the natural flow, like, accept that you didn't go with the natural flow, but understand, like, that's why. There have been times in my life where I did not go with the natural flow, and I felt it. I experienced it. Being out of step. Whatever. So I'm gonna try to get to where I'm going to, but I'm not trying to waste anybody's time, but know that I'm going to get to where I'm going to, at the pace that I go to. And, if some things, get missed along the way, it's because I'm having faith that because I'm recording more often, and because I'm trying to let, down the guards that are going to prevent me from recording here more often, like taking away, maybe the pressures that I was putting in myself that may have, put some boundaries up there. Um, that what's missed will have an opportunity to come back around again. And then the same way that I met people on those other, channels, that given time that we'll meet people here, you know, and because at the end of the day, it's just human beings. Look, the things that are frustrating about, you know, a lot of the noise on social media, on YouTube or whatever, whether it's this space or that space, it's the abstraction that's caused by people not really communicating, but people doing other things in the spaces that are intended for communication, like networking or just, um, building up their influencer brand or just, trying to build up the subscriber counts or the views or whatever. So what ends up happening is just like a whole bunch of malarkey in space of, human, interaction. It just becomes, this, you see a subscriber and it's like, is it an organic follow or is it just someone, an automatic, bot connecting, some account to some account in the hopes that you follow back or whatever. And it's like, okay. And it's like, if you generate an artificial follow, congratulations, you generate an artificial follow, which did X, Y, and Z. But it's like, if there was no human connection, if no other human being actually experienced your content, then like, what was the point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it didn't actually, it's like, it didn't really occur, on some kind of level. So I just like, I just want to have faith that, the things that are destined to occur, whatever, like, they'll occur. And just, kind of have faith in the process and just kind of, move forward. And try not to get, upset by, like if you, like see something, say something, but don't get like, overly alarmed by it. Like, like, so I've noted, like, there are attorneys, role-playing attorneys speaking about the OGL SRD issue who by their own admission aren't intellectual property attorneys. Now, I'm telling you, like the minute they come to that first point of admission that they're not intellectual property attorneys, they should stop fucking talking. There is no excuse for these individuals to do anything on these subjects other than to say, I am not an intellectual property attorney, therefore, because this thing that they're talking about, understand that what's happening. Basically, this is what's happening. What's frustrating me is because my heart honestly goes out to these guys in the same way that my heart went out to Corey Good, the dude that sued me. Because it sounds like I'm saying these guys are fucking assholes. And they are. But my heart goes out to them. Why? Because I know exactly what the fuck's happening. These fucking dweebs, right? They're fucking dorks. It's not like a million fucking lawyers that I'm more. It's like 3 fucking guys. Because this is a fucking tiny fucking community. And if I wanted to name names, I could. And they're fucking 3 fucking dweebs. One dweeb was probably fucking older than me, and 2 dweebs were probably younger than me. And they're fucking, and it's so fucking obvious what's happening. They all just have the name lawyer associated with their YouTube account because, look, hold on. Fuck, I don't have it here. Wait, where is it? If you go to the original Fighting Fantasy role-playing game book from like 1986 or 85, it mentions rules lawyers in there, right? Steve Jackson, in the original little paperback first version of turning the Fighting Fantasy game books into the Fighting Fantasy first attempt to turn it into its own standalone role-playing game system, in the introductory section has a thing where it mentions rules lawyers, right? So we know what happened. People talk about rules lawyers. Gary Gygax talked about rules lawyers at the table all the time. Don't be a rules lawyer. Don't be a rules lawyer. It's a common expression in the realm of role-playing games. So what happened? What happened with all of these guys? We know what happened. There's this expression in role-playing games about rules lawyers. They happen to be lawyers. So what? They're coming up with their YouTube account. So they just one says role of law. One says, what the fuck his name, role for lawyer, rules. It's literally rules lawyer or whatever. And some of the guys, Joe the lawyer. And I think Joe the lawyer is literally, because his fucking name, sounds like he's fucking older than dirt. He talks about fucking BBSs. So it sounds like he was fucking in college in like 82 or some fucking shit, right? So like, or like he might be a little bit older. So it sounds like he was just fucking Joe the lawyer because of probably fucking back in like fucking maybe Rutgers. He was distinguished because to tell him apart from every other friggin' Joe on the fucking alt binary .d&d, he was Joe the fucking lawyer, right? So now he's Joe the lawyer on his friggin' YouTube channel. But he's another guy who's not an intellectual property attorney. And I'm not saying these guys are like worse attorneys than me. Look, dudes, I always assume, right? A magical demon jumps into a room that I'm in with any other attorney and says, on the other side of this door is a legal problem. And you can either represent him or he can represent you. I'm always going, let him represent me. By default, right? If the other guy is Token Study and Token Study's been drinking and I know Token Study's not been admitted, I'm still probably going to be like, hold on. Wait, listen. Let me think. Walk a straight line. No, he's going to represent me. You know, it's just because, you know, but at the same time, but that's what I'm saying. I'm always like CYA. And these guys are out here like CYA. What does that mean? Because these guys are out here like pants around their ankles, just walking around. I'm not an intellectual property attorney, but, and then just talking about the law, about leaked documents, making opinions about WOTC, making opinions about what WOTC was thinking about their legal strat, just all over the place. And I'm sitting there going, did any of y'all consult with your rabbis before doing this? Because here's the deal. There's a difference between just mentioning that you're a lawyer, and just letting people know that you happen to be a lawyer, and running like a YouTube channel that's based on talking about legal issues. That Redica law guy, that's a whole different shtick from I just have a YouTube channel and I happen to be a lawyer that happens to play role-playing games, and so I call myself the rules lawyer because, remember, we all know that joke. There's a far cry from that, from just letting people know that you're a lawyer, to talking about the law. And if people think this is not legal advice, that just like kind of covers it, I don't know if it does. And I'm paranoid. And people say, like, you're being paranoid. Yes. You know why? Because in every state of the union, your law license is a plenary license. What does that mean? It doesn't belong to the individual lawyer. It belongs to the state, which means the state has the power to revoke it. And in every state of the union that I'm aware of, that power to revoke the license doesn't go through the courts. It's not like a criminal proceeding where a judge and a jury of your peers. No. You'll go through some esoteric, bizarre, Byzantine, ethics proceedings, and and if it has anything to do with these things, and why do I make people like, what's it going to come up with? Because you know it's going to happen, because we see what's happened already. They have done already something foolish. And the reason that I know is because I did something foolish. I mentioned my legal thing because that wasn't necessary on my other YouTube channel because I got pissed off at people. So what's going to happen is, now that they've already crossed that line in the sand, it was just that they happened to be a lawyer, so it was just in the name of their video, it was just a happened to be. But now they're actually talking about the law. What's going to happen next? They're going to talk about something political. They'll end up talking about something political. They'll talk about some touching the third rail issue, some, whether they're progressive and they piss off someone on the right, or they're on the right and they piss off someone on the left. If they're not insulated sufficiently, is this inevitable that's going to happen? Absolutely not. It's not inevitable that it's going to happen. Could it happen? Absolutely it could. Here's the other thing that could happen. Any of these people could have identifiable employers who get cease and desist letters from the lawyers at WOTC. FYI, in case you're curious, your employee is fucking up online. Stop them. How? Why? I don't know, but could it happen? Sure, it could happen. How? Why? I don't know. I'm not here to do the hypothetical fact finders because it's not my agenda to see these guys screwed. I don't know. I'm just saying, dude, because the bottom line is this, that the other thing is this. What's the other thing? The value of what they are doing is nil. The other day, they had a guy on one of these things who was like who described himself as a general practitioner attorney. He did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, had some office in Queens. This OGL SRD is an international piece of intellectual property law. You need to have been in front of the United States Supreme Court, probably, to do, an analysis of forecasts of how the case law is going to play out. Because precedent case law in all of these areas of law, what past cases and how past cases bear on future cases, that's why you have experts in these specific legal areas of law. The law has become so complex and Byzantine over time. That's why you have specialists. You have very few general practitioners. You have general practitioners in medicine generally as your first line of defense. Those are the guys and gals that give you your physical. Cough again, turn to the left, turn to the right. Oh, now you're just on vacation, Doug. What's going on? Bend over. Oh, you think I'm on vacation now? Wait till I tell you to bend over. Right? The minute that general practitioner finds something serious, they refer you out, right? Having a general practitioner like this wonderful guy, who's probably a better attorney than I was, is Alan whatever guy, talk about a piece of litigation, a piece of heavy intellectual property contract law like the OGL, is like having a general practitioner look at an X-ray with a shadow on your lung. You might have him have that discussion with you on the ambulance on the way to the Mayo Clinic or Columbia Presbyterian as he's holding your hand, telling you he knows the guy who knows the guy who's going to get you to the best guy. But come on. And what was he doing there? He was there letting you know, hey, my name is this, Esquire. I practice. I got a small firm in Queens. Come on. Just letting you know. You need an attorney in Queens? Right? And what's a general practitioner? It's a little criminal, a little divorce, no kids, right? Simple real estate, you know what I mean? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, probably. I don't know, but I don't know, but that's what I surmise. But hey, but I'm not the king of the world. And none of that has to do with the 20-year nostalgia loop, which I'll get to. And I'll get to it. 2003. Okay. The OGL, the SRD, and the 20-year nostalgia loop. It's been overdue that I talk about. First of all, the 20-year nostalgia loop. I call it the 20-year nostalgia loop because in the beginning of 2000 was when I first noticed it. That life was just repeating. That everything that I saw on the radio, on the MTV, that I was hearing, even in supposedly very progressive places, like I was in the rave culture at the time, was just the 80s coming back at me in full force. And when I thought about it, I was like, yeah. And when I think about it, wasn't the grunge whole thing just the 1970s? And that got me thinking. And starting in the year, right around the year 2000, probably 2001, I started keeping a notebook with the plan of writing a book about this new theory that I was developing about the 20-year nostalgia loop, that what was happening at any given time in music, fashion, books, art, culture, movies, whatever. Even I found later on, kind of I discovered in politics and culture was just a repetition of really what was happening 20 years before. You know, I obviously became kind of egotistically attracted to, my theory of the nostalgia loop and the 20 nostalgia loop, and I probably became self reinforcing after a period of time. But as I really became honest with studying it, when I came back to YouTube and started studying and working with it on YouTube in various ways, on my other channels, I really kind of had to relax a little and realize that there were kind of other nostalgia loops as well. There was a 20-year nostalgia loop, a 25-year nostalgia loop, a 30-year nostalgia loop. But keep on coming back and using the simple term 20-year nostalgia loop still makes sense to me, because that's a very real primal one that exists. If we want to talk about this OGL and this SRD 20 on a nostalgia loop, it would really be either on a 20-year nostalgia loop to 2003, which will be a little bit esoteric to deconstruct, or it could be a 23-year nostalgia loop. And for those people who have a certain esoteric mindset, the number 23 might jump right out at you. We were doing some experiments on some of my other channels with William S. Burroughs and his cut-up techniques. People might also be into the work of Robert Anton Wilson. If you like your philosophy raw, you might also be familiar with the 23 phenomena. It had its most visual prominence in a movie with Jim Carrey from some years ago. What year did that movie with Jim Carrey come out? I honestly don't know. This is if we get a funny number, if we get a cool number, it'll be completely accidental. Jim Carrey 23. The number 23 came out in 2007. $16 years ago. 6 was on to 7. I don't know. But then I'm one of these funny guys. But so the number 23, that was the movie in 2007. That was like the most popular kind of. Oh, this Pragmagic points out the number 23 came out on 2-3. But then of course then we get into those. We made it, those making it happen things. Tim Freight 20 is the first big one. Woodstock in 1989 was a constant, painful conversation. There you go. So there you go. Bill S. Preston Esquire. Wonderful, wonderful. The movie is terrible. No, it's irredeemable. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I wonder if I have 23 books in front of me. Anyway. But I was talking about the OGL and the SRD on the 20-year nostalgia loop recently in regards to role-playing games, because I said, they're very prominent in the world of role-playing games. And I said specifically in regards to the OGL and SRD recently, but not in regards to this controversy. Before this controversy came out, I said, if you want to see the 20-year nostalgia loop in full effect in this community, this tabletop role-playing game community, look at the share and share alike open game license structure that underlies first Troika, and I believe it was taken from Troika and adopted into and Morkborg. I believe you can look at games like Troika and Morkborg, and I think I'm sure there's others that I'm not aware of, but if you look at their open game licenses as they exist in those works, those are the children of that open game license. It is. That was the open game license on the 20-year nostalgia loop, coming right out of the cosmic pussy. Reborn, reincarnated, new eon. Here I am again. What's old is new again. Circle gets the square back. But it's, you have, going back on a 25 year nostalgia loop, we can get to a book like Jeff Noon's Vert or Pollen. I don't know. There were two books that came out kind of around the same, very close to each other by the same author. But in both these books involved kind of a metaphor for the psychedelic ecstasy experience, come new virtual reality experience. And in it, one of these books, the character has a main conundrum because there's a premise of kind of a very kind of magical premise of, as above and so below, and matter cannot be created nor destroyed, and that which is removed must be replaced with like, and balance must be equal on both sides of the divide. One of the characters is very attached to, I believe it's their sister, and their sister becomes trapped in, I forget what it's called, but like for want of a better term, like Fruity Land, right? And when the people emerge on the outside of this psychedelic experience, when they emerge from Fruity Land, right, they don't have his sister in tow, but what they have in tow is this like mutagenic, like freakazoid thing. I've read the book like 20 years ago, so I think I'm remembering it correctly. Pragmatic is first Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was in 2002. There you go. Mutates, as I remember 2003 having a lot of rock and roll, The Strokes, White Stripes, etc. I don't remember much movies, Kill Bill, Spider-Man, etc. The rock and roll you remember, the funny thing is The Strokes, The White Stripes, you remember that being rock and roll. 2003 was a year that a lot of those guys, like the Strokes album from 2003 wasn't their rock and roll record. That was their that was their 80s blip. Boom, ding, ding, boom, ding, boom, ding, boom, boom, ding. Like they are a perfect example of the 20-year nostalgia loop, and them and the White Stripes are a perfect example of the 20-year nostalgia loop rolling, because in those groups you see that as the time eras change chronologically, these individuals change their sound. On the Strokes' first record comes out in 1999, right? It's ba 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 ba. It was like ba, ba. It was like they were like the tail end of the alternative rock thing, right? By the time 2003 came around, that was their second or third record, and it was like it was a total like Devo like record. If you haven't heard it, because I've spent the last 10 days listening to nothing but music from 2003, so I can tell you can go back and you can check it out, and it's all that. And the same thing with the dude from the Strokes, because by 2003, I mean the White Stripes, by 2003 the White Stripes were history, and that guy was already on to the steady as she goes, right? I think he was already doing that shit. But it is what it is. 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 And and none of this is to say, like, I think like in my past instances of talking about the 20-year nostalgia loop, there was a heavy emphasis on, like, I was using the hashtag no new music, like hashtag no new music, and making the point that everything's a repeat, everything's a rehash. And there was kind of, whether it was for like, shock value, or to get, like an impact, or whether it was emphasis, or whether it was some sort of like negative mindset, was definitely geared towards, kind of a Mark Fisher, everything's broken down, this kind of nihilistic mindset of it's all done. and it's all over. And I think, moving forward, I want to not not because I think it's an artificial move, not because I'm doing it to do it, because I think, but because I think that it's 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 more organically true, is that, or just, be open to the possibility of the long now, ancient time. The premise of the hashtag no new music theory was because people are repeating the music from the 80s for the third or fourth time over, and therefore we are on our third or fourth decade where people are not creating new sounds, but rather repeating the sounds of yesteryear, right? So we've had 30 or 40 years of nothing new, but some sort of repetition, that therefore it's endemic or systemic or proof of some sort of massive breakdown in human society, or a loss of culture, or a loss of acculturation, or, social retardation, or something terrible. And whereas, I think with better mental therapy and better, mental health medications, I've been able to say, hold on, it would never occur to me to go to, you know, um, a gamelan performance, um, where people were playing, ceremonial, communal, tribal music that they've been playing for, like, thousands of years, right? Communities have been playing for thousands of years, and say, like, you guys have been playing the same music for thousands of years, fucking losers, like, get a fucking new tune. Like, it would never, like, occur to me to be like, go up to people, like, like ancient, like, African music, and be like, you've been playing the same fucking drum patterns for fucking, like, hundreds of years. You fucking think you might want, this is why people take you over. This is why you suck. Like, it would never occur to me to do that. Like, why would I do that to, like, modern man? Like, why do I, like, have such self-hatred for modern Homo sapien that I think that we should be found devastatingly wanting because we don't have endless amount of, new combinations or new sounds or whatever, every year, nonstop. And, I'm willing to accept that other cultures or other peoples could have, periods of thousands of years of the same type of cultures, but still the expressions and the individual expressions of that culture being, beautiful in its own right, and, having value, and being, you get the point, right? So it doesn't have to be just doom and gloom just because, look, it's like, there has to be, and maybe it's like a conservation of energy. It's like, we can't have new genres of music every year for, 1,000 years. Like, we that maybe that would be like the causation of, like, causing, humanity to be like the ultimate heat engine would have to really blow up. Anyway, who knows. But so maybe we got through enough of an introduction of the 20 nostalgia loop. It's all around us. And it's certainly around in the OGL, because look, here we are. It's 2023. This OGL, this SRD is from 2000. Here I have a new book that I got. This is not a new book, but it's a new book that I just got, because I think I've got everything from Amazon. I didn't buy it, just recently, but over the years, like, that I've been back into the scene. I've been back into this OSR scene, and this OSR, old school revival scene, is entirely predicated on this fucking open game license, right? It is. And for those who don't know, because, you come here because you love me and you don't know anything about this role playing game stuff, trust me, I'm telling you the Bible truth. Look at this open game license this is BX Fantasy Roleplay. I didn't know this. The guy sells, like, everyone sells all these guys. Here's J. Alexander Lloyd from 2016, first print edition, June 2016. All these guys everyone sells their stuff for like $5 on Amazon. So if it's like, I just endlessly do searches for OSR RPGs on Amazon, and when I see a new one for $6, $7, $9, I'm like, order now. So I have like bookshelves of this stuff. Here's his contribution. Shout out to J. Alexander Lloyd from 2016. Original system and rules authors Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax with Rob Kuntz and others. That's a new name. Dedicated to E. Gary Gygax, 1938 to 2008. Check this out. Dave Arneson, 1947 to 2009. Tom Mulvey, 1949 to 2007. Dave Cook and Steve March, who are still with us. Yo, check this out, man. So you have Tom Mulvey, 2007. Gary Gygax dies in 2008, and you have Dave Arneson in 2009. But that's nuts, because check this out. You have Swords and Wizardry comes out in like 2008. You have Labyrinth Lord comes out, and all the OSR games start coming out in 2008, exactly the same year that Gary Gygax dies, and almost the same year that Dave Arneson dies, and almost the same year that Mulvey dies. But check this out. Almost 35 years to the day that the first D&D comes out in 1974-75, and certainly 30 years on from 1980, like when it first really starts to hit, and certainly really 25 years on from 1985 when it really starts to be like a thing. That's what I mean. Look at these nostalgia loops. And it's all there, but it's fucking fucked up when it lines up with people's fucking death days like that. And between you, me, and Jung and the Wall, I don't know. It gets weird. And yeah, you look for hits, you ignore misses, and I try to be a rational, pragmatic person about this. I'm an atheist, you know what I mean? So I'm aware of the fact that, like, look, we look at hits, we ignore misses. Let's see what he's doing here. Is it the character's race? What are we doing here? J. Alexander Lloyd. How to create a player character on a blank sheet of paper, record the 6 ability scores. So this is BX. So what this is an attempt to do is this is trying to take the basic and expert boxes, right? The basic and expert rules, and burn them down to one book. And how many books do I have that are simple attempts to burn down the basic and expert rules into one book? I've got like probably at least 20, 25. And I think that they're probably like 90, 95% identical. And would I sell any of them? No, not. And if I could get them, like, you know what I mean? Like, freeze them in the laser tomb to protect them, to protect them from the ages. Game preservation must be done. The kobolds are coming. Protect the books from the kobolds. Beam, 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 beam. Hey, man, I'll die on this fucking hill, man. We got to preserve this shit. These guys, you know what I mean? J. Alexander Lloyd, he might not have gotten laid that much, but he wrote that fucking book. He's still probably with us, man. He's probably out there, man. I get laid all the time. I'm J. Alexander Lloyd. I'm the one who wrote the book, but I'm the one that gets laid. Meanwhile, he's out there going, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Meanwhile, J. Alexander Lloyd's, man, like, I wish, man, someone would talk about my book. He's out there, man, fuck this OGL shit. Man, I got to pull my book. Man, and no one even reviewed it. And meanwhile, if I would just, and it's like, I know what I need to do. I need to make I was like, I need to make a video where I sit down and I'd be like, guys, this is going to be annoying, but here's what we're going to do. For the first 15 minutes, I'm making a video about the 2003 release Dark Eye. Boom. Okay, we just made that video. See you in another 5 minutes while I set up the next video. Here's this video about J. Alexander Lloyd, and he gets laid all the time, right? In the next one. But I can't do that. I just can't. Dark Eye from 2003. So we'll come back and I'll end up talking about the OGL and the SRD and how it comes back in the 20-year nostalgia loop over and over again, because it does. It's there. Look, it was 20 years ago, 23 years ago, and here it is. Boom, in our face. Check this out. Now, I'm showing you this so that you see. This is not a reissue. This is from 2003. Boop, 20 years ago. Copyright 2003 by Fan Productions, Erkath, Germany. The Dark Eye and Aventura are trademarks. So here we go. So this is what this is. This is the Dark Eye, basic rules. Now this is the hard copy. This is the 2003 hard copy. So a lot of people have like the 2007, I think the 2017 version. But this is the 2000. This is important. I'm going to show you the year because this is the social justice warrior language whole thing, like that whole social justice warrior language debate and the pronoun stuff. I'm going to show you something cool. This is cool. Check this out. The Dark Eye is based on the brand new 4th edition of Die Schwarze Auge, Germany's premier fantasy role-playing game since 1983. So check this out, because this is the nostalgia loop, right? This is a book from 2003. So this is a book from 20 years ago. And it's the brand new 4th edition of Germany's premier fantasy role-playing game since 1983. Remember that year I was telling you about the nostalgia loop years? 20-year nostalgia. The elegant rules are a product of nearly 20 years of constant development. The richly detailed game world Aventuria is developed from literally hundreds of game adventures and supplements. Embark on the exploration of a lifetime and discover an imaginative and complete role-playing game setting now available in English for the very first time. Now, what did I want to show you? This talk about the SJW warriors are taking over and they're trying to change the language and they're trying to police the language. Check out this gender reversal language from Dark Eye, the Germans from 2003, 20 years ago. The High Lord, their version of a DM or GM. The High Lord, check this out. The High Lord is the game master. She is director, cameraman, referee, and actor of all minor parts in the story. One player takes the job of High Lord, a special task. She is the only player without a specific single role. Instead, she is the director, cameraman, referee, and actor of all minor parts in the story. She alone knows all the details of the entire adventure on which the players are about to embark. For instance, yada, yada, yada. The entire adventure, blah, blah, blah. For instance, if the adventure is the whodunit and the High Lord already knows who the criminal is and which clues will enable the heroes to find the culprit, she also knows where the danger lurks. If the players decide to enter a room, the High Lord tells them what the room looks like. Okay, so you get it. So they changed the traditional male DM or GM or High Lord to a female. And in the example of play, it continues. So far, we have told you about the basic concepts of role-playing. You now know that you will take on the role of a hero to go on an adventurous quest with some of your friends being in the care of the High Lord. Anna, Lisa, Tom, and Frank have met one Saturday afternoon to play an adventure together. Anne is the game master, has read the adventure thoroughly, and knows it more or less by heart. The others have prepared their character sheets detailing their heroic personas. Thus, Lisa becomes Fenya, a cat burglar of no small skill, while Tom plays the learned magician Bosper of Greeningdale, and Frank assumes the role of the not-too-bright mercenary Ugo. Anne acts as High Lord, while Lisa, Tom, and Frank are the players. So that is them using not gender neutral, but reversing the gender to the female pronouns back in 2003. Now, why I point that out is because that's the sort of thing that is commonplace for people to do now. And for when people to do it now, for people to act like, oh my God, look at this bullshit. I can't believe these fucking social justice warriors have to change the language. Well, here they're doing it back in 2003, 20 years ago, and it's the fucking Germans doing it. But then again, they couldn't get enough of that Andrea Merkel girl, right? They couldn't get enough of her friggin' COINTELPRO ass or whatever. So I'll be coming back to the Dark Eye because, I will be coming back. The Dark Eye, because it is on the nostalgia loop. I didn't go into this part. In the nostalgia loop, on my other channel, we had this extra special kind of LARPy fun thing that we did that crossed the line between performative art, LARPing, experiments in human potential, and unsolicited black magic. I am being completely honest with you. I am being completely honest with you. If I'm lying, I'm dying. With success. We had hits. And the hits keep on coming. I did a lousy job of telling people communicating hits on a recent experiment, but they're there. Anywho, get ready because we have to watch the next episode of The Simpsons. We'll watch together because the last time we did it, we managed to destroy a Barnes and Noble. So I have faith in us. I'm serious. It's a heart attack. Check out my side channels. Am I joking? Am I serious? Am I out of my mind? Am I LARPing? You know. Everything is real. Nothing is permitted. Like, wait. Yeah, for you. For me, the other thing. For you guys, nothing's. Wait. This press conference is over. Hold on. Till further notice. This press conference is on. Hold. I'll be coming back to the Dark Eye because of the Germans. And it's too good because the guy that sued me, that whole thing with the 20-year nostalgia loop and the Dark Eye, and the Germans, but I can't talk about it, but someone could, but no one can because then I'll just get upset about it anyway. You can't win. Maybe you could talk about it. Where was I? Oh, check this out. Let me just read you the table of contents. The only thing I wanted to do now, I haven't read. So, okay. The 20-year nostalgia loop time travel technology. You can weaponize your knowledge of the 20-year nostalgia loop and use it to travel back in time. Sort of. Allegedly, Tim Frey. Dark Eye for the Nazi guy. It's got legs. Google algorithm. Jewish. I'm Jewish. Stop. Joking. Come on now. You gotta let them know every once in a while. Just shout out. Just let them know. Buys you time. People listen. I'm gonna tell you something. Some of the conservative bros in RPG land will be out there. So he admitted it. See, Kanye was right. He admitted it. Buys him time. Kidding. I would never tell you about the secret codes. Listen. To Kanye West. Listen, no. Don't. Wu-Tang. Listen, stop. Hey, we say hello to Spooky. Oh, Paul Masson. Here we go. Spooky says, I'm driving in between meetings to say, I love you, I love you, I love you. If no one told you that today, someone just told you. And that person says, Paul Masson. Watch out. Paul Masson. Dark Eye, basic rules. Dark Eye, basic rules. No one did role-playing games quite like the Germans. Introduction to role-playing games. Germans. So like us. What is a role-playing game? Example of play. What is Aventuria? It's an accent. Brief survey of the game rules. Game statistics. Attributes and attribute tests. Almost on. Social standing and status in society. Talents. Almost on. Combat system. Vitality points, astral points, and endurance. This is what got me. Leave it to the Germans. Time and space. If I'm lying, I'm dying. It just goes vitality points, astral points, and endurance on 19, and then it goes time and space on 20. Heidegger, Parmesan, Schrodinger's Heidinger, Cat, Parmesan, box number 2. Listen, folks. A hero is born. A star is born. Character generation. Races and cultures, professions, step-by-step hero creation. This is what I heard about this game. This is it. So 37 through 57 is character creation. So 36, oh yeah. No, actually, it's 21 through 57. I heard that. So Tetsubo57 is one of my favorite RPG guys on YouTube. He's fantastic. He doesn't give a fuck. He's been basically making like 2005 style YouTube videos since 2005 with like zero intent and like no intention of like changing his technical setup at all. He records all his videos in advance. Hello, YouTube. Like he's basically if Kermit the Frog like decided to like LARP as a gypsy like trader in Aventuria and then like decided to also run a YouTube channel. That's basically Tetsubo57. Honestly, like, hello YouTube, I'm reviewing Dark Eye. Like that's not Tetsubo57. It's not RPG pondering. Necromancers, morally, ethically questionable, certainly. But say you have 10 homeless corpses, they are doing nothing, and you have a necromancer who can use these corpses to, say, power a mill. Well, what is the moral and ethical question there? Let's say they were volunteers. Honestly, brilliant. Anyway, he was like, it's too crunchy. No. I mean, far too. I'm like upping the Kermit. Like, I'm like, he's like, first, like, he'd be like, I'm not that Kermity. Oh, he's not that Kermity. He's like, not that Kermity. I need the glasses too. I need more earrings. Okay, races. Midden Relmans, but he's got me kicked on like progressiveness. Like he makes my Bernie Broism like seem like he makes me seem like a Trumper. He'd be like on screen like with a mask. He's great. Anyway, race, cultures, profession. I'm teasing. Midden Relmians, Tulamides, Thorwallians, elves, fae, dwarfs, and Gorsham. That's what the dwarves are called. Cultures. Now, here's where I think they had some problems in America. Goratia, Horatian Empire, Fountainland, Thorwall, Mendastian, Novidius, the Leah elf people, the Anvil dwarves. Then they had professions. Burglar. I don't know why that's so funny to me. Burglar, like burglar, like what's like the burglar's like standard kit? Like, does it include the money bag? Like, honestly, explorer, hunter, magician. Come on now. Mercenary, messenger. Like, who would be a messenger? Like, oh man, I want to be a messenger. I can't wait. Oh, we can roll for your next character. I don't know. I was thinking a lot about being a messenger or possibly a mountebank. A mountebank? What the hell's that? A physician? That's awesome. pirate, rogue, scout, warrior, legend, singer, or ranger. Advantages, disadvantages, characteristics, advantages and disadvantages, 20 questions for your hero, a word from the wise on choosing heroes, the talent system, the talents, combat rules in the beginning, determining combat values, combat, Aventurian armor, Aventurian shields, unarmed combat, ranged combat, Aventurian ranged weapons, readying a ranged weapon, Aventurian melee weapons, other rules, time and space again. So there's 2 time and space entries. There's a time and space, I shit you not. There's a time and space entry on 20, and there's a time and space entry on 118. Encumbrance and carrying capacity, things that might hurt you other than combat, regeneration, adventure points and experience, magic in Aventuria, astral energy, spell prowess, of wand enchantments and elf songs, experience for spellcasters, the basic Aventurian grimoire, Aventuria, the continent of Aventuria, emperors, armies, and demons, the history of Aventurian civilization, the gods of Aventuria, creatures and monsters, poisons, disease, and herbs, equipment, High Lord tips, player tips, and then they have archetypes: German warrior, Horsian burglar, Garshian explorer, Thorwallian pirate, Tulmadian mountebank, Leah elf ranger, dwarf mercenary, or Tulmadian magician or magician. Where's my messenger? What, no messenger archetype? Where's my messenger archetype? There's an index, a map of inventory, and a character record sheet. Let me look at the character record sheet. What did I hear? Oh, I heard something about the character record sheet. Yeah, it's like pretty. No, it's just 2 pages. Someone told me something about a 3-page character sheet, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Doesn't seem to be that bad. I want to see. I want to see what these 2 time and space entries are. Oh, okay. So that's my. Here we go. Regeneration. Time and space. To keep track of time in the game, Tim Price says a burglar is literally the worst property criminal unless they want to dip down for arsonist. Oh, that's the other archetype. We have to wait. You have to get the bonus supplement to get there, to get the arsonist. Time and space. To keep track of time in the game, we use 2 time units. Oh no! Oh, that okay. No, I was I was put on my pre-shock face. I apologize. In combat or in other fast action aspects of the game, we use the combat rounds. It's combat time and regular time. Combat round about 3 seconds. Why do people always give the time, the seconds of how, like in D&D there was like the a round is about 7 seconds. I'm like, why, like I always wondered like why they keep on telling us like how many seconds, like are we supposed to, like, is it a visualization thing? Are we trying to visualize what we can do? I guess we're trying to visualize what we can do in that time. About 3 seconds in length, further subdivided into actions. Other activities are measured using game turns representing 5 minutes. Sometimes earthly time units such as seconds, minutes, or hours are counted even even in Aventuria are used when it makes the most sense. Distance in Aventuria are measured in paces and midden miles. 1 pace is equal to 1 earthly meter, while a midden mile equals 1 kilometer. Combat round equals approximately 3 seconds. A game turn equals 5 minutes. A pace equals 1 meter or yard. A midden mile equals 1 kilometer or 6/10 of a mile. I will be using none of those rules, I'll tell you that much. None of those rules. Midden realm. Zach Galifianakis would play a good CW. I appreciate that. We lost a lot of weight, but and again, it's been many a moon since anyone's seen Zach Galifianakis. It's been many moons since I've been popular. Listen, so all this talk about the OGL and the SRD, talking about open source gaming systems. Another gaming system that went open source. We're going to be coming up on the 30-year . anniversary of the original Star Wars role-playing game, the D6 based system. Here's the second version of this is the revised game from 1996. So this is what, 27 years ago. So in about a couple more years, we'll be coming up on the 30th anniversary. When West End Games, the publisher of the original Star Wars role-playing game and then later D6 games like Men in Black, were going out of business. Here's the Men in Black game. We're going out of business. They made the decision to take their D6 system and make it open source, turning it into something called Open D6. That's had many variations. So when we've been talking about nostalgia loops and games to generate things, people talk about systems to generate games for, you can always generate games and be ready on the nostalgia loop for this Open D6 system in preparation, because people know that I was talking about using cut-up techniques to create a new game out of the Troika SRD. So that got me thinking about using other SRDs and other game systems to create original game content, which made me aware of this Open D6 system, which made me go back and research and get the old games on the nostalgia loop for research and insight, which is very fascinating, because especially when I got the Star Wars supplement Dark Force Rising, because I have a feeling that somebody, we most probably read the Thrawn trilogy books with its what they call the Katana Fleet, aka the Dark Fleet, and may have actually played the Star Wars role-playing game, because in the Dark Force Rising supplement, there are many characters who pay more than a striking resemblance to certain people that may have appeared other places, allegedly. Here's from 1997. This would be 26 years ago, right? When I ordered this, I only ordered this. I'm not a huge Men in Black fan. I only ordered this because it was relatively cheap, and it was an example of, this was the last game. I think it's either this. I also have the Xena Hercules game, and that's undated. So there's a question about whether that or this was the last D6 what would you call it? Licensed product. Here's the Men in Black role-playing game. This is interesting because the day that this came in the mail, okay, was the day that the depositions for the guy that sued me landed. If I'm lying, I'm dying. So I had ordered this with no knowledge or anticipation that anything related to anything else in my life would happen. And this simply arrived, right, on the same day that all that jazz went down. And you see that, and I got sued by a guy who, was alleged, whatever, protecting the earth from the scum of the universe. Men in Black, the role-playing game. In case you're curious, I got sued by a guy who claims to be basically a cosmic emissary for an alien species. I said that he was, absolutely full of shit and lying. He sued me. It's cost me over $15,000, close to $18,000, I think, in legal fees. The case is not resolved, blah, 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 and yada, yada. But, life goes on, and we just try and live, but whatever. You're about to enter the dangerous world of the Men in Black. Bring a sponge. But anyway, check this out. When I ordered this and I checked the order, I didn't know, and it wasn't identified as a signed copy. But check this out. It's signed. by George Stratton and Nicola Vritz, the guys who authored it. So I bought just a relatively cheap used book off of Amazon and got a signed copy. So on the day that I got the depositions, and basically what you need to know and understand is that when I'm referring to these depositions of the guy that sued me basically was deposed and basically had to admitted to everything that I accused him of. Whatever. Anyway, it is what it is. But it is what it is. Allegedly. In my analysis. And my analysis is a human analysis, and that's just that. It means nothing. It means nothing. We'll see what happens. Anyhow. So just funny to me that on that day that I should get something that says protecting the earth from the scum of the universe, and as if the universe was winking at me, I got that. And remember, I would have received this in calendar year 2022, which means that 1997 would have been on the 25-year nostalgia loop for that. Interesting? Utah contributes and says 1997 was a good time to be a Star Wars fan for me. Good toys, video games, hype for episode 1 leaks 2017. Was that Last Jedi's year? I forget, remember. Though 2019 was the Last Jedi, right? So we'll get to that. Wait. We've got Shadowrun, second edition from 1992. That's on the 30-year nostalgia loop. Oh, so the time travel technology. If you want to time travel to a selected year on a nostalgia loop, 20, 25 year, 30 year, I would recommend the 20-year nostalgia loop jump. The more people that do it at the same time, the more strong the vibe we found, but crazy shit can happen. But ROTG CGI signing scene is no bueno. But I make all sorts of mistakes, so you gotta be careful because from moment to moment and day to day, spooky, I'm gonna make fruity calls, right? You want to be Java's Palace. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, like Max Rebo and the band. Oh yeah. And who was his name? Size Snice Noodles. That gal, yeah, no, it was hot. Come on, man. She's all right. She's everywhere you want to be. Like E. Daniel Ari. Sorry. You're busted. 1992, 30-year nostalgia. Oh, so if you want to time travel, you listen to just music from that year. When you don't want to fight with anybody, don't start any fights with people in your family. Don't get into trouble. What is ROTJ? Why am I missing ROTJ? Oh my God. Don't stop. Oh my God. That's okay. I know what it is. I know what ROTJ is. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a dickhead. I apologize. Yep. No, I suck. No, I blow. No, I'm not. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. But that doesn't mean you can run away from me. You fucking bitch of a girl. I'm gonna get you. Meanwhile, the guy that sued me would literally take that video and be like, see? You see? He threatens people online. He threatens to get girls online. I don't threaten to get girls online. I'll tell people I get girls online. I get girls like reverse restraining orders. That's when they take the restraining order on you. I get girls like a reason to stay up at night. I give girls a reason to lock their doors. You know what I mean? I keep their immune systems on their toes. Kidding. Come on. Does anybody know what time it is yet? It's time to stop joking. Anyway, listen. So when it comes time to listen to music, you just listen to music from that period, that year. When you want to play a video game, you play video games from that year. You want to read a game book. If I'm trying to, so for instance, since January 1st, 2023, I've been trying to plug in on the 20-year nostalgia loop to 2003. So for the most part, I listen to music. I've been listening to music from 2003. I've been watching music and listening to movies and watching movies and TV shows from 2003. Have I seen YouTube videos from the present era? Of course. I've seen things about the OGL and the SRD, so obviously I've seen new videos and stuff. You don't go nuts. You don't try and go crazy about it. But what's freaky is that the more you do that, the more you realize it kind of starts to morph a little. And in that uneasy balance of where you're kind of losing track of, leaving your car where you've been listening to music for, 20, 30 minutes on the car ride and hearing music in the pizzeria or in the mall, where you realize it's the same shit. And you watch 3 or 4 movies in a row and a TV show in a row over the course of a couple of nights, and you're watching the fashions and seeing the stuff, and then you start realizing a combination of things. Number one, they're on the 20-year nostalgia loop. People from 2003 were just jacked up acting like it was 1983 or 1978, between 25 years and 30 years, 25 and 20 years ago. They're all acting like it's 1978 disco era or the beginning of, the 80s, honestly. And the other thing you notice is that everyone walking around today pretty much dresses like it was then. Which is weird because, like I said, everyone then was dressing like a combination of a couple of different things from the past too. And it gets a little freaky. And if you're hanging out with other people that are talking about the 20-year nostalgia loop on YouTube channels and stuff, it'll get really freaky. But that's that. So that's on the side. So you can do that too. So then there we're also on the 30-year nostalgia loop for Shadowrun. Get to that. Now, here's something that's interesting. So if we go to the 20-year nostalgia loop on the OGL SRD, because everyone's talking about this disaster that was 4th edition that came out in 2008. But what's weird about everyone talking about 4th edition, is that 4th edition didn't happen by itself. The disaster that was 4th edition didn't happen in isolation. Shit got weird. Because from 1st edition to 2nd edition was like 20 years, or like almost like, what was it? 2nd edition came out in 1989. 1st edition came out, like 1974, 75. So it's like, pretty much like 15 years, 15 years. Between 2nd edition and 3rd edition, it's basically 1989, 1990 to 2000. It's 10 years. Okay, so between 1st and 2nd, it's really kind of like, because Advanced Dungeons and Dragons really didn't come out until 1977, right? Really didn't fully come out probably until like 1978, right? So it's like really, really 10 years. So you have 10 years and then 10 years. But then Wizards of the Coast did something freaky because they had a 3.5 rollout. Remember, they had a 3.5 rollout. I have a collection of 4th edition books that's huge. See if I can show you my 4th edition books. Ah, yeah. That's just like some of them. And that's like with the exception of like a little stack in the middle, that's all like that's a couple, like I've got like 4 or 5 PDF reprints from Drive Through RPG, but for the most part, they're all original hard copy. But Rogue Status, hey, says love that shirt. Wu-Tang! Come on, baby. Yeah, what's going on, honey? What's going on? No rest for the Redeemer. What's going on, baby? Love it. Thank you, Rogue. Thank you for coming by. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, homie. It calls a pizza place a pizzeria. Is that a Jersey thing? I mean, I don't think it's a Jersey thing. It's maybe a United States thing. Our boy Mario Heat, the freaking Mexican Canadians went to another border, forgot to stop walking, kept on walking, ended up in Canada. He's Mario Heat. He's our Mexican Canadian brother. His family kept on walking. They should have stopped walking, but they kept on walking. That's how they live in Canada. That's literally how they ended up again. You went too far, man. Went too far. What's going on, man? Where are you? Where are you? It's snowing. What's snowing? Texas? What, Texas? Look around. What's the sign say? It says Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan. Where the fuck would you go? Mario Heat said it's cool. Mario Heat said that I could joke like that about him and his family. He said it's cool. Said I have the Canadian, as in his words, the Canadian Mexican ghetto pass is what he said. So I've got clearance, so I can do the voices. I'm also half Puerto Rican, so you can suck my nose. People are like, I thought you said you were Jewish. I'm half Jewish, half Puerto Rican. It depends on who I'm trying to piss off. I'll have you know I'm Jewish, and as a Jewish person, these prices really offend me. I'm gonna get so canceled. It's not even funny. And then I'll be like, and then Kanye says, but then here I am canceled. But then and then they canceled me. And I was like, tried to tell somebody, but I was already canceled. I tried to tell James Rogie the Fourth, and he yelled at me on the phone. I was like, well, this is what I get. You call this customer service? It smells nothing like you said in the advertisement. It's a 3.5 disaster. So they came out with Wizards of the Coast, came out with Dungeons and Dragons 3.0, and they changed the world. You have no idea. First of all, here's the deal. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. Let's be completely fucking honest. The notion that these guys got it right the first time is not true. You know? The notion that Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, perfected role-playing games on friggin' day one is not debatable. It's objectively not true. Right? I mean, it's impossible. It's just first of all, what is perfection? There's no such thing as perfection in a subjective thing like these sort of games. But beyond that, it's just, they're everything they did was just constantly, is earmarked and defined by various levels of mediocrity and problems. I mean, neither of these guys was Mark Twain, and it's just God bless them. I mean, they're fantastic human beings. They did more in the realm of game publishing than I've done in my life. But having said that, I've achieved more in the realm of getting a law license than either of them have done with theirs. So fuck that. I mean, like, it's just people doing what they do with their lives. Like, fuck it, it's awesome. But at the same time, everyone should keep everything in perspective. Like, I see people with like pictures of Gary Gygax, like he was fucking like Muhammad. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, a guy fucking made a game. Like, get the fuck up. You know what I mean? Anyway, Jesus Christ. Anyway, in 2000, they came out with Wizards of the Coast came out with the D20 system that was so good it was almost universally adopted by like several other companies, and that's what gave rise to this open gaming license. The open gaming license was not created primarily so that people could take old versions of D&D and do stuff with the old content. It was so that people could do stuff with the D20 system moving forward, and they did. This little sign, this little symbol was ubiquitous for the beginning 2000s in like any bookstore gaming section. You know what I mean? It was as ubiquitous as anything because it was the system that was everyone was using. But then there was in 2003 they came out with 3.5. When I was doing research in preparation of the year switching over to 2003, I was looking for role-playing game books and looking at books from 2003. And I found that the books from 2003 from Dungeons and Dragons were not first, second, third edition. That's 3.5. So when people start talking about the nightmare that is fourth edition, understand that when people are acting like the nightmare that was fourth edition was fourth edition and the rules set of fourth edition, people couldn't stand the rules of fourth edition, that's only part of the story. First of all, everyone likes to act like they played these games and the game mechanics and they analyze the game. These game mechanics, every person at a gaming table is going to roll the dice X number of times per session, and X number of times per session, they're going to get wins and losses. I mean, the notion that people are able to track the statistical differences between these different systems and how they produce wins or losses is just ridiculous. Like, the systems could have way too many rules and be totally blown out, or they can have too simple rules and it makes no sense. But the people acting like they can really tell the difference between this particular iteration of something and another particular iteration of something, I think people are just fucking full of it. That if behind the scenes, if the GM wanted to, if he behind the scenes, he fucking rolled like fucking the rules for fucking Hackmaster instead of the fucking rules for Dungeons and Dragons, the fucking players might not even fucking have any fucking idea. And besides, do you really need any other rule other than I bet you I could do an entire fucking game session. I bet you I could do an entire game session, no prep, no fucking map, no nothing, with a fucking flip of the coin. 5 people in the room, me as the DM, coin flip. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Okay, you're in the room. It's one door. Who's gonna try it? What's behind the door? Is it something good or something bad? Coin flip. Something bad. You know what I mean? Really bad or just a little bit bad. Coin flip. Really bad. To kill you or just leave you half dead. You know, or whatever. And then that was a little bit lame, so we'll branch it out to 6-sided die into three into a 3-sided die. Good, bad, and indifferent. Mario, let's do the D&D live stream Dungeons and Fire. Hey, listen, man, you know what I mean? I'm not opposed. So we were trying. So here's what was happening. So I was committed to being in the year 2003. So there I was. I was like, we're gonna get to the nostalgia loop. I said I had some ideas. We had, ideas and stuff and things that we were going to get to and talk about. But I didn't know when I was going to get to talk about them because I was thinking about, I said, I previously talked about this, the micro chapbook RPG stuff. People had started, commenting on the other micro chapbook RPG videos. So I thought about wanting to return to that material because, the new book had come out with the beginning introduction of the new rule set. So, but I didn't know how to get to it. And then my kids were like, there was an implication that they were going to start playing fifth edition with me. So I dropped everything to start trying to learn fifth edition. That was my last video where I said, I know I have to learn fifth edition overnight. Well, here's the thing. My kids have basically told me that was my wife's idea. And they're basically like, nah. Broke my heart, but we'll deal with it. So I had a whole bunch of fifth edition books that I had gotten out specifically to try and help homebrew a kind of campaign for them that was going to be based on trying to do, because they weren't into really the classical RPG kind of fantasy tropes or setups, but they were really into this thing, the SCP Foundation. They've really gotten into videos about the SCP Foundation, these kind of kiddie versions of these videos about it. Kids are 11. I knew that there was an SCP Foundation role-playing game, but I didn't want to invest in a new role-playing game especially because I was really curious, really very aware of the fact that my kid's interest in the actual game, Spooky Bed Hair, what's going on, baby, might be actually not that, might be tangential. So I didn't want to invest in yet another gaming system, and especially one that I wasn't going to be particularly interested in. And I didn't see the value in an esoteric system for them. I thought, if they were going to play a gaming system, 5e, look, here's the deal. People can say whatever they want to about Wizards of the Coast, and they hate Wizards of the Coast. They want to go here, there, or the other place. If you look at the OSR, the old school revival, you can see that these people who have learned over the years Dungeons and Dragons from the Red Box and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, who have learned those rules, those rules have stayed with them, and that game has stayed with them. That game system has stayed with them, and they keep on coming back to it, and they can keep on coming back to it as a communal exercise and as a kind of communal potlatch, and it means something. The commonality of the language means something, and in the commonality of that language is the value. There are people who want to act like the hobby is role playing and the language doesn't really matter. It does matter to a degree. I mean, if the kids are going to learn something, it makes sense for them to learn to read and write English. If the most common language being spoken in the community is English. If they were in Japan, it would make sense for them to learn to read and write Japanese. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe it's the case that more people are playing 5e than have ever played any other edition of Dungeons and Dragons, including the first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Therefore, if they were to invest in the skill set of learning any role-playing game system, it makes no sense for them to learn any other role-playing game system other than 5e. Because 5e is such a common language system, as a role-playing game aficionado and fan, I've bought and purchased a ton of 5e books that were, on sale over the, not good, what am I saying, Good Friday, the Black Friday, sale after, Thanksgiving or whatever, because I knew it was, part of this history or whatever. And that's the other thing. And people can talk about going on to other systems and whatever, and Pathfinder, whatever. Like Dungeons and Dragons is Dungeons and Dragons. I know I said shit about Gary Gygax and fuck Gary Gygax and Dive Iceland, but history is history, and Dungeons and Dragons is Dungeons and Dragons, and anything else is going to be anything else. And anything else that comes along after Dungeons and Dragons, it will not only represent when Dungeons and Dragons became not number one or whatever, because there was a time when Dungeons and Dragons was not number one; it was Pathfinder. But even when Pathfinder was the number two, it was just number two because Dungeons and Dragons had alienated people, and even when Pathfinder was number two, it was just number two because it was just Dungeons and Dragons with a different name. All that Pathfinder was Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 or 3.75, however people want to call it. So it was still the number one game in the world was still Dungeons and Dragons. People can say the number one role playing game in the world is actually some other game. It's actually Call of Cthulhu, but that has to do with using not numbers. That has to do with using country numbers, and the number one. No one. Listen, whatever. And here's the other dirty little secret: a lot of that those numbers come from actual sales. And the dirty little secret about Call of Cthulhu sales are those are fucking collectors. Those are fucking H.P. Lovecraft horror collectors. You think those fucking Japanese people are playing Call of Cthulhu? Do you think they're playing Call of Cthulhu? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are. I bet you a whole bunch of those people are buying those fucking books in bulk. Right, the second, the third, the fourth, the sixth, the ninth, the 10th edition. They buy them, they put them in the wall, and there it is. And it gets reported to Chaosium as a sale, and they fucking report it as a sale. What do you think the Japanese are reporting their table time hours to their fucking superiors? Oh, fuck that shit. That's not happening. It is what it is. Mario Heat says Uno is bigger than D&D. Mutate. My kids love SCP stuff. It's weird, especially because my kids have discovered these SCP videos that are it's like that Kurgan's got video animation style, but it's the SCP Foundation, and they're huge into. I mischaracterized my daughter's one choice. I had said that she had wanted to be a half dragon princess, but what she had actually wanted to be was a half dragon plague doctor. So I was like, oh shit. Because I told the story. I said, I showed up one day to hang out with my kids, and my ex-wife was like, oh, they're ready to they want to play D&D with you. And I thought it was just a general statement of future intent, like they've decided to actually open up the starter kit and actually play with you one day. No, she meant that day. And I was like, my ex-wife didn't know that you needed to prep, you need to prep the adventure, they need to do characters, she didn't know. So they weren't, she thought it was just like Monopoly, we would just open it up and we would just play. So it didn't really work that way. So then I was trying to get, the kids to actually get into it, and it was problematic. So anyway, but I knew they were into the SCP Foundation. So I had this grand idea that I was working on to this this kind of SCP Foundation, on the Sword Coast of D&D, the SCP Foundation or an SCP Foundation environment, but in medieval times, where they would be capturing the monsters or whatever. So I came in another day and hit him with the idea, and it was a sale, a Hollywood sales pitch, gone wrong. It was pitching to Lorne Michaels. They were just sitting there and I was like, okay, so in the middle, there's this castle, and it goes up all the way to the heavens, but underneath the ground, it's got its mirror image that goes all the way. As high it goes into the sky, it goes all the way down to the ground, and that's where the monsters are. Right in the middle area, there's the half orcs and dragonborns, the half, people are half human, half monsters, and they represent the people are and the one kid's walking away, and I'm like, wait, who's the real monster? Who are the real monsters, kid? But before you go, they're like, we'll call you. We'll call you. A lot of great ideas here. Really great ideas here. Just leave the notes, and we'll get back to you. And I'm like, They're not going to call me back. Moving on, time ship. Listen, time travel. This game is from 1983. If you go to the Wikipedia entry on tabletop role-playing games, you will see that time travel has only been touched upon in role-playing games 3 or 4 times, and only in calendar year 1983 and 84. Really, honestly, the only 2 or 3 time travel RPGs that I'm aware of all came out around 83 or 84. But that's interesting because if you know anything about the early 80s, that's when everything with time travel fucking happened. 83, 84, 85, or 1980, everything with time travel happened. Time Bandits, the 3 role-playing games with time travel. Some other thing. That Christopher Reeve movie. Everything that happened with time travel in the 80s happened in 83 or 84. Or 1980. It was weird. Admitted. So what I want to do is this. So this is now on the 40-year nostalgia loop. Saber-tooth Cabbage Patch. This 30 by 30 square is planted out in rows of saber-tooth cabbages, which seem to be growing well in the orange sand. If anyone steps within the patch, he will be bitten on the ankle by the nearest cabbage for a damage total of 5. That's entry number 11. Entry number 12 is Dracula's Castle. This ludicrous building is surrounded for a distance of 10 feet on all sides by a permanent band of gray mist. This effectively hides the castle completely until the group ventures inside the boundaries of the mist, at which point it turns to rain and visibility improves so that the castle may be seen. The frontage of the castle is in traditional Gothic style, complete with towers and castellated battlements. Building material appears to be cut stone. The walls are 20 foot high. The towers are a disproportionate 130 feet high and solid stone all the way through, although arrow slits have been painted on. The back walls are also stone, but quite plain, without windows or battlements. The double doors of iron-bound oak open creakingly inwards into a dimly lit great hall, approximately 20 feet wide and 30 feet long, ending in a shallow staircase. The hall contains 6 suits of Japanese samurai armor set at intervals along the side walls on the worn flagstone floor. The walls are hung with a mixture of oil paintings of Victorian industrialists and photographs of the 3 most recent American presidents. That would be Donald Trump, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Mahatma Gandhi. Time ship? What? Right here. Look. See, look. It says right there. See? Right. The stone staircase at the end leads gently upwards through the curtains of cobwebs, gradually narrowing to a point where it meets the corner of the outer walls. There's a secret door, perfectly discernible if the party actually bothers to look, in the middle of the both sides. What the fuck? Anachronisms. Anachronisms are permitted by the nature of the time stream, but only at the expense of energy. It is perfectly possible, for example, to carry a 20th century handgun back to the 5th century, but to do so involves a much greater personal energy expenditure than carrying the same weapon into a capsule set in some other period of the late 20th century. In the later case, the base figure set against the weapon in the weapons list is sufficient to take it through a gateway. In the former, the base figure must be multiplied by the century differential, 15 in our example, 20 minus 5 equals 15, before the gateway will accept the weapon. Annoyingly, this holds good whether the voyager travels backward or forwards. There are, however, certain exceptions to the general rule, mainly weapons and artifacts of a type which seem to appear at some level in every culture, past and future. These exceptions are listed in the weapons lists. Exits. It is a truism of time travel that it is usually easier to get into a time capsule than get out of it. So far, experience has shown that every time capsule has a built in exit. Entrance gateways are strictly one way. Exits will usually manifest as shimmering doorways or sometimes as rather ominous black holes in the fabric of reality. As such, they are generally easy to recognize, but not always easy to find. Special conditions for the appearance of exits are the norm in task capsules. Task capsules. Task capsules, so far translated, have all fallen into one of two distinct categories. The first of these ones I have called simply adventure capsules. Once within them, voyagers are free to explore and adventure as they wish, enjoying, if that is the word, such chance situations and encounters as they may arise. In short, they are bound to no specific purpose other than they may determine for themselves. Adventure capsules will normally have one, and frequently have more than one, pre existent exit, permanently located in a specific place. Occasionally, random factors in the time stream will cause an additional exit to appear, at least temporarily, in the voyager's vicinity. The second category of capsule I have called task capsules. Here, entry through a gateway automatically binds voyagers to a very specific task: the assassination of a particular historical personality, the solving of a particular mystery, the discovery of a specific artifact, or whatever. In task capsules, my own party of experimental voyagers has so far been unable to discover a single pre existent exit. It would seem that the mechanics of the capsule determine the appearance of an exit only on the completion of the specific task. This naturally adds greatly to the dangers of a task capsule. Boom. There you go. And changing courses back again, because I don't know if I completed the thought. So, what would be normally or should have been a 10-year cycle, say, release Dungeons and Dragons 3.0 in 2000, and then say release version 4, probably they should have done it in 2010. They released this 3.5 partial reboot in 2003, just 3 years after they had done 3.0. Basically reissuing the main core rulebooks, the player's manual, the monster manual, and the dungeon master's guide. I think there may have been more than one monster manual. So when people talk about the disaster that was 4th edition, when 4th edition comes out in 2008, it wasn't just that 4th edition was coming out 2 years early, right? That would have been bad enough for 4th edition that it was coming out instead of giving the full guys a full 10 years to enjoy an edition before you were asking people to come up and pony up the dough to do a new reboot cycle. It wasn't that Wizards of the Coast didn't come early in 2008. They had already come early in 2003. So they had already eaten early, and then they were eaten early again. So it wasn't really that when they came out with 4th edition that they were just coming early to the tune of 2 years early. They were really coming early to the tune of a full decade early, because they were really just coming 5 years on the tail of 2003's 3.5. So when people are acting like they were just mad at 4th edition for being 4th edition, they weren't. They were mad at 4th edition for a whole bunch of things, including the fact that they've basically been through like almost just a half cycle. They got hit with two cycles of new editions when they shouldn't have even had in between 2000 and 2010. This community should have seen one new cycle. They should have seen 4th edition probably in 2010. Instead, they saw 2 new editions by 2008. That's what fucked everything up. And just like the problem that people had with 4th edition with not recognizing the rules and seeing all the changes, making it more video gamey, the reason they're doing that is because they're trying to appeal to a new audience. Because guess what, guys? Like, the new audience is not the old guys that play Dungeons and Dragons. The old guys want everything to stay the same because they think that's the way the Dungeons and Dragons is supposed to be. But guess what? No, the kids don't want to play old school Dungeons and Dragons. They don't. They don't want to play 1st edition. I know that everyone's like OSR, OSR. And they'll have the people that like say, like, oh, the OSR means new things and it's changing. They just like, people like new things. And really, they like excuses to buy new books. So you bought all the 5th edition books, and now you feel self-conscious about buying yet another 5th edition books and buy another 5th edition adventure book because you haven't played the 3 5th edition adventure books you already bought. So now everyone starts talking about the OSR revolution. So now you get to be like, oh, the problem was 5th edition. The problem was it was the WOTC was the problem with their fucking still did old thoughts and their dumbass ideas and their SJW, backwards, thinking and making the creators with, draw with their hands tied behind their backs. It's this OSR revolution. The ruling's not rules. That's really what's going to turn it all around. That's what's going to change everything. Sure, that's what's going to change everything. Buy more books. You're buying more books. You're collecting books. You're buying books. You're collecting minis. You're buying minis. Or you're looking at scans of people that buy books and buy minis. Whatever. It's not a youth revolution. It's not a culture. It's a consumer culture of people buying shit. That's what it is. Just like Star Wars is movies about space wizards for children, right? It is what it is. Don't hate the messenger. And now people are going crazy because they're like, oh, now Dungeons and Dragons, they're trying to change it all into a video game. They're trying to change it all into this. And for the movies, I go, yeah, you know why? Because of the kids. For kids, they're making tchotchkes and toys for the kids. Yeah, because they want kids to play. And then you have these people out here like Dungeons, the WOTC are trying to destroy the community. They're trying to destroy creators. They're trying to get rid of these people. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. The company's trying to get rid of their customer base. That's what's happening. Yeah, that's what's happening. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Why did I buy this? I'll tell you why I bought this. Find it. Boom. Recognize that guy? Strongheart? Yeah, you do. Recognize Strongheart? Yeah, you do. Old school D&D fans? Oh, man, I can't believe they're making toys. Yeah. Oh, man, they're making Dungeons & Dragons toys for the kids. Oh, fuck that shit. Toys? Man. Oh, look, it's Ringle Run. Man, toys of Dungeons & Dragons? Man, fuck toys? Whoever heard of that? I did. I had a lot of those toys. I had that fucking Snake Master playset. That was fucking awesome. Shit. Elkhorn. Boom. Started out. Elkhorn, bitch. Hi, I'm Elkhorn. Would you like this knife up your butt? Thank you. Elkhorn. What am I looking for? There you go. Warduke. Price of admission on sale. Warduke. Man, hope they don't make a toy of that guy. That would totally blow. Man, can you believe that they would make a toy of Warduke? Oh man, for the kids, that would be. Who would do that? Man, Gary Gygax would be spinning in his grave if they knew they were making toys of shit. If they knew they were going out to Hollywood to try and sell a movie of Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax would be spinning in his grave. Oh my God, you weirdos! Ooh. So anyway, I got all this stuff. I got all these books out because I was like, yes, I'm gonna like homebrew this whole like scenario for the kids, and the kids were like, "No, you're not. We're not interested." I'm like, "You will be." So the whole point is this: is that I'm like, so it's all about leaving it open, so you don't discourage the kids. You leave it open. You don't want to turn them off. So they got the Rick and Morty rule set. The one kid is like still interested in reading that. So we hope for the best. And in the meantime, we say, okay. So we don't have to worry about learning 5th edition overnight, though I have a fair grasp of the rules at this point. And we could just go back to reading things from 2002, 2003, though I'm concentrating on 2002. Here's a game from 2002. I mean, I'm concentrating on 2003 at the time. Here's from 2002, The Rangers of Taradone, The Heritage, a single and multiplayer role-playing game by Sean Robert Shaw. If this doesn't have one man's love written all over this, this is not. This, I mean, look, it's print on demand, but this is not an OSR or RPG. This is one man's passion project, if it's anything. You are Vitar Remembrick. Found without memory of who you are about to find your importance in the epic struggle between good and evil, both a single player and a multiplayer role-playing game. The Rangers of Taradoin, The Heritage, give readers of all ages a game of choices and consequences. I don't know if this is like from Writers Club Press and imprint of iUniverse. But that's just Myths and Legend, The Rules, Dream State Prelude, Chapter 1, Drear, Dream State Part A, Chapter 2, Constance, Dream State Part B, Chapter 3, Destiny, Dream State Part C, Chapter 4, War, Dream State Part D, Chapter 5, Angelus, Appendix, Multiplayer Game Addendum, About the Author, 265. About the author. Sean Robert Shaw is a noted writer of the Dark One series. That's it. About the author. Sean Robert Shaw is the noted writer of the Dark One series. Okay. You are Vitar Remembrick. You do not know how you got here. You do not know who you really are. The first you recall is waking on a ruined world where it seems a great war has ended. It is true, a great war has ended. One that is rumored to have spread from this world to others and plagued the stars beyond. It was a terrible war. It was a horrendous devastation of carnage, and you cannot remember it. As you entered the city near where you wake, you were met by one Kara Nuhas, a strange female, one that was not human by any measure you could tell, though she looked human enough, with deep green eyes and flowing blonde hair. Her face was a bit too fair, her eyes a bit too green, and her ears were pointed. She told you she was an elf, but elves are things of legend. This world where you find was the world of Sion. It was once a great and powerful world, for some the center of the universe, but now a shattered realm where strange things occurred and darkness seemed to rove. 2,000 years ago, a great war with its own government had a war with its own government? Ooh, baby! 2,000 years ago, great war with its own government had destroyed its greatness and reduced it to the empty hulk it is today. Care's summaries told you little. And transformative word, fair use, fair use, fair use. Review, editorial, and left you still wondering about who you were and what your role in this world was. This world, it has its fill of darkness and shadows. At every turn, the very depths of hell seem to yawn its wide jaws open to devour the few inhabitants left. Their daily struggles. You're learning a lot in your short time on this planet, buddy. Their daily struggles against the evils are bolstered only by their devout faith in the Creator. Here we go. And their hopes to ascend to a heaven in the hereafter. Here we go. It is their belief in this Creator. Here we go. Otherwise known as the One. Here we go. That someday, somehow, He will save them. So far, it seems he is not, and darkness reigns in their world still. So is he gonna? Are we gonna discover Jesus here, or is this guy Jesus? Right? They look forth for a champion, a chosen one who will have the power of them. Oh, maybe it's just them, the power of one with him that will give that champion the power to defeat the darkness that shrouds them. They have looked so for thousands of years, and you have no doubt that they continue to look for thousands more. You've devoted your life since that day. You awoke to fighting these ills with care at your side, and another strange companion, a lord of the Church of the Silver Star. You became an adventurer, eager to prove yourself against these demons of the Netherlands, and with the hope that someday you will find a purpose beyond just living. The years have flown, the days have passed, and still you are ignorant of what happened before. Your care has proved ever the loyal companion, and your adventures have gathered behind you like wheat in the field. It is then that you started changing. Powers, unexpected powers, began to blossom forth, and dreams like no other have ever before started to invade your sleep. It's like ripped from the headlines. You dreamt of other worlds and other places, and like visions of the past, your powers adapted. Yo, it is not wizardry that affects you, for these powers are natural, as if a gift from the heavens. They are like skills that can't come like the rains from heaven, like cum gutters. I had that last part. As if memories are unlocking previously hidden doors within you. In bed, you know not why, you know not how, you only know it is happening. Nothing is happening, kid. Relax. The jelly bean. Nothing has revealed itself as to why, nor do your unknown past, and nothing seems to be forthcoming. Then, one night, as if a blessing sent in disguise, it happens. Hello, God, it's me, Margaret. She's an old lady, a crone, with a crooked nose, wiry white hair, and a hunchback. One eye is bad, the other blazes with an intensity, and she stares in a crystal ball, waving her hands wildly about it. You want to know the truth, boy? No, that's it. She looks up from it, stares across the table as if staring directly at you, and then she calls out, "The town drear. That is where you must come to find your answers. The town drear. Remember, and awake, Vitus." You awake, a cold sweat drenching your clothes. Your breathing is heavy, and you stare around, regaining your bearings. Drear, a cursed town. It is one of the most desolate townships, with darkness seeping out of its pores. It is a gathering place for adventurers. Many go into that place, few come out. All the natives stay indoors at night, for at night it is rumored the streets are ruled by chaos. You've avoided such a place, for only the foolish or the desperate go there, with only the faint whispers of a dream echoing through your head. You know the time has come. For if any have ever been desperate, you are now. You must know the past, and if that is the only way, it is the way you must go. What is it? Care stirs as she sees you awake. 'Tis only another one of his nightmares, Joaquin calls out, trying to shuffle deeper into his covers. That must be the Silver Star guy. I think not, Care replies, noticing the look in your eyes. No, it is much more, you say hesitantly, then turn to look back at her. For I know now where we must go. Where? Joaquin asks, finally stirring, convinced he will get no more sleep tonight. Drear is all you respond, and thus the adventure starts, and the voyage begins, but it is only the beginning, and the ending is still far off. The rules. And there's a little balloon with a heart here. I don't know why that is, but it's there. So it's like a game book. Let's read the first rules. Before you begin, you will need to have either a pair of dice or a 12-sided die, a pencil, and a piece of paper to record the following information on. Your character has certain traits particular to him or her. These traits are defined by numbers, which are known as statistics. These statistics are warrior sense, health, strength, agility, faith, defense, and damage. 5 of these will be determined by random rolls. The others will be calculated by your 4 other statistics, as well as whatever equipment you own. To determine your warrior sense, health, strength, and agility, you will need a 12-sided dice. If you do not possess a 12-sided die, 2 6-sided die, also known as a pair of dice, you know those white cubes with dots on them, 1 dot for 1, 2 dots that stand for 2, and so forth, will do just fine. When you roll the dice or die, you will be told to roll the dice. In figuring out your statistics, you will need to do this at least 5 times. Roll the dice. Add this first roll to 20. This number is equivalent to your warrior sense and will be described below. Roll the dice. Add the second roll to 30. This number is equal to your health score and will be described below. Roll the dice a third time. This third roll is equal to your strength and will be described below. Roll the dice a fourth time. This fourth roll is equal to your agility and will be described below. Roll the dice a fifth time and final time. Add this final roll to 8. This score is equal to your faith score and will be described below. Each score is important in its own way. Warrior skill is what determines just how good you are in combat. A low score determines a low ability towards battle, while a high score shows that you are very proficient at actually hitting your opponent. A member of the Grey Cloaks or any military order finds that many times fighting is a very important aspect in their profession, and thus a high warrior sense is preferred. This is only the raw ability that you possess. Training, skills, and equipment can raise or lower this. Thus, a low score is not necessarily the worst thing that can happen to you. Health is pretty self-explanatory. It is how healthy you are. If you take damage in combat, this score will go down. If you heal yourself, you may restore these lost health points up to the original value that you first rolled. This score cannot be greater than the score that you have now, that you just rolled, even when healed, unless you attain a skill which raises it to a higher level, or you gain an item which will raise the score. Note, if you lose an item which raises the score should go down to reflect this. If health ever reaches the score of 0, you are dead and the adventure is over. Each time you finish a chapter, including the prologue or adventure, you are completely healed of all wounds, and your health is completely restored to normal. So this is very much like a fighting fantasy game book, which is, if this came out in 2002 on the nostalgia loop, 20-year nostalgia loop brings it to 1982. The fighting fantasy game books came out in like 1982, 84, but the first ones came out like between 82 and 84. So there you go, right on there. And the same thing with Lone Wolf. I guarantee you, if this is not this to the degree that I don't recognize this as fighting fantasy, I guarantee you this is that other one that I've never seen because it's been out of print. Lone Wolf, that apparently was like the #1 game book in the world but went out of print. Lone Wolf, but that they are bringing back into print. They were going to bring it back into print in 2022. They missed it. Like something happened with the Kickstarter. So I think it's happening in 2023, if it didn't happen already. So that's right back there on the nostalgia loop. Anyway. So how healthy you are, if you take damage in combat, the score will go down. If you heal, blah, 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 blah. Strength is a reflection of just that. How strong you are. This also is part of determining the statistic of damage and how many times an exact reflection of this. The higher your strength, the more damage you can inflict. In addition, many other activities use strength as well, such as lifting items, breaking items, etc. And thus a high score may prove useful. Agility is a reflection of how fast you move, whether it is the speed you run at or the swiftness of your hands. Remember the phrase, the hand is swifter than the eye. Both are relevant on the score of agility. Agility determines what your defense is. And if you are not wearing any armor, many times it's a direct reflection of this. In addition, being able to be quick on your feet may prove extremely helpful during your adventures. Faith is a reflection of how strongly you believe in either the teaching of the One professed by the followers of the Silver Star and your faith in his power to protect you. It is from that you will stand better chances in certain situations where normal means may fail you. The higher the score, the better the chance of achieving the impossible. Your faith score is also a reflection of your psych score. Your faith and your psych score will be the same and can be used in conjunction with one another. At other times, they may have been separate, but in this time, they are combined as the faith in one. And the one grows and is prevalent upon the universe. Psych is what aids your skills of the scions, adding you in how strong different skills are able to become. It is vital for a scion to have a high score in this, as their abilities rely on it. It also can ward against other attacks in the mental realms. You also possess 2 other scores, that of defense and that of damage. These 2 other scores are primarily only of use during combat. Defense is equivalent to your agility. When you gain armor, this will add to your defense score. Some skills may also increase your score in defense while not adding anything to your agility score. Thus, in figuring out what your defense is, you should use the following formula. Agility plus skill bonus plus armor item bonus equals defense. Yada. And then there's combat. Yeah. Combat. Now that you have your 7 statistics, it may prove useful to know how to fight. By following the steps below, you can compute any battles you may run up against. Note as well, if you enter combat without a weapon, you will lose 5 points to your warrior's skill total and deal half of your total damage score rounded down. Thus, if my damage was equal to 7, I would only be able to deal out 3.5 points of damage, but since that is rounded down, it would become a total of 3 points of damage that I would be able to deal until I attained a weapon. 1. Figure out your warrior skill. By first starting with your warrior sense, add this to any skill or item bonus. In addition, add any special bonuses the situation calls for. The section number you are in will tell you if you add any special bonuses. Thus, warrior sense plus skill bonus plus item bonus plus special bonus equals warrior skill. Duh. The result of your warrior skill for the result is your warrior skill for this combat round. Where are we going with this? It's gonna end up being fucking fun fighting fantasy. Find your enemy warrior skill. It should be listed next to the words warrior skill in the section where you find your enemy. Roll the dice twice. That's 2d6. The first roll is added to your warrior skill. Thus, the result from one or your warrior skill for this round of combat is added to a dice roll. Next, add the second roll to your enemy warrior's skill. Thus, the result from 2 or your enemy's warrior skill for this round of combat is added to a dice roll. Determine which end result is higher. Thus, if you had a higher, he's explaining to you, like, determine which one is higher. Thus, if you had the higher number, you had the higher number. If the other guy had the higher number, he has the higher number. He literally says it. Listen to this. Determine which end result is higher. Thus, if you had a higher warrior skill with your roll than your enemy, then you would win. If your enemy had a higher result from step number 3, then they would win this round of combat at least. Really, is that how it would work? I love you, baby. I can write a book. I apparently can write a book. Oh my God. This is awesome. Do you see what he just did there? He literally just told us twice. Like, he told us to determine which result is higher, and then he told us how to determine which result is higher. God bless him. Did he think that we needed to do that? Oh shit! In parentheses, if this seems hard, simply find the result from step number 3 that you got for yourself and subtract your enemy's result from the step 3, as in your warrior skill plus dice roll minus your enemy warrior skill plus dice roll. Yo! He did it! He does it alternative math! Yo, he thought you needed to do that. I love this guy. This is my new hero. This is my boy. Do you see do you understand what he's doing? Do you understand what he's doing? Do you not understand what he's doing? He's like, yo, if you didn't, he's basically saying this, like, okay, what you need to do is you're going to add up all the modifiers to your roll and then roll your dice and add all those numbers to your number. Okay, like this. Like just like this. Like this number, then this number, then this number, then this number. And then you do it for the enemy too. You do this number, then this number, then this number, then this number for the enemy too. Just like you did for you did for the other guy. And then the winner's going to be the person with the higher number. So if you have the higher number, if your number is higher than the other guy, you win. If the other guy has a higher number, he wins. And then he goes on to say, if this seems hard, simply find the result from step number 3 that you got for yourself and subtract your enemy's results from the step 3, as in your warrior skill plus dice roll minus enemy's warrior skill plus dice roll. So he basically says to you, if you're having trouble figuring out which number is higher, subtract one from the other. That's what he did. If you end up with a positive number, such as 3 or 6 or any number like that, then you have won this round of combat. If you end up with a negative number, anything less than 0, then you're, well, no. Actually, I'm wrong. I apologize. Then your enemy is, if you end up with a no, I'm sorry, no, I'm right. Then if you end up with a negative number, then your enemy is one. Oh my God! If the scores are equal than the same, then you have won. Then if you tie, then you have won. Oh my God, honey, what? I love this. The winner takes their damage score. They subtract their enemy's defense score from their damage score. The result is how much damage the enemy takes. This is deducted from their health. Thus, damage minus defense equals health points lost. Or for another example, say it's step 4 that my enemy won this round of combat. They have a damage score of 7. I have a defense score of 4. 7 minus 4 equals 3. I reduce my health score by 3 points. If 6. If the defense score is higher than the damage score, such as if, let's say, my defense was 9 and the damage dealt was 7, thus 7 minus 9 equals negative 2, or no damage according to this, then 1 point of damage is dealt anyway. Thus, even though 7 minus 9 equals no damage, I still deduct my health by 1 point because I am hit for the minimum amount of damage possible. Oh, so it's like defense. Like, so it's like basically like if you had armor. So if your defense was 9, you only did 7 points of damage. He's saying that even though technically the 9 points would absorb all the damage, you still do. So it's he could have said it by this: damage is reduced by your defense score to a minimum of 1. He didn't write it like that. But then again, I have to be honest. He's doing this in 2002. If he had been writing this today, or even in 2012, he would have had the benefit of so many other people writing shit like this. He was working without example. He was probably doing this like without. He was doing this just like him, his ass. He justified his margins too. Like he justified his margins. You can see, like, so he wrote this like he obviously worked on this. At this point, if anyone's health is 0, they are dead. If this is you, then you are dead and the adventure is over. If this is your enemy, you may proceed, but with a reduced health score, unless you didn't lose any health points in combat. If both you and your opponents are still alive, return back up to step number 1 and repeat the process, fighting another round of combat. Example of combat. Okay. We don't need to do that. Example number 2, example number 3. Carrying equipment. This looks interesting. This looks very interesting. Oh, God. This will be good. I think this will be good. So I wish I'd known this. I wish I had looked at this earlier in 2002. You know, I'll tell you what oh, my God. Oh, my God. Guys. Like, in a standard game book, the rules really go on. I would be expecting, so the combat, that example of combat was just like 2 pages. And then it goes on to examples of combat for like, then it's got equipment, carrying equipment on page 8. But now check this out. I'd really expect that to be it. But then it goes on to armors and weapons for, oh God. Then we've got optional combat rules starting on 15. Then we've got skills and ranks starting on 16. Looks like with magic. We've got more. We're still got skills and rules going up to 28. Then we got the multiplayer game. So the rules go up to page 30. So that's an extensive rule set for a game book. But that's interesting. So I wish I had known. I thought that this was going to be more highfalutin. Based on really just the cover alone, and based on this singular multiplayer role-playing game, I thought that it was more, it was this dream state stuff that I think made it seem more highfalutin. If I'd gone in and looked at the writing, and if I had looked especially at the rule set, I would have picked up on the fact that it was much more like just like a game book. And I think I would have looked at it, and I think I would have done more with it in 2002. We say hello to Jason Albert. Hello to Jason Albert. But that's there for our perusal in 2003. We'll get there. We'll get there. Last thing. Very last thing. Captain Kirk is climbing the mountain. Why is he climbing the mountain? The Adventurer's Guide to Fishing. The ultimate RPG fishing mechanic. When I saw this on Amazon, I knew it was an instant purchase. There are times when I see a product and I just go, hot diggity damn. It's not a if and it's not a when, it's a right now and not later, baby. We need that. Forget it. Yes. And this was definitely one of them. I saw this and I immediately ordered it. I was like, I just knew, yes. Now, here's what's crazy. I knew that I had that feeling, but I couldn't tell you why, and I'll tell you why. I can't tell you why. I don't fish. I don't fish. I don't fish. I don't play those role-playing games where you fish like Bassmaster or whatever. But for whatever reason, when I saw the Adventurer's Guide to Fishing, the ultimate RPG fishing mechanic, I was just like, yes. Yes. How to play freshwater, rare freshwater, saltwater, rare saltwater, flotsam and jetsam. How to play. The Adventurer's Guide to Fishing is the ultimate fishing mechanic for role-playing games and so much more. This book serves as an extensive underwater bestiary for real-life fish and marine animals, containing descriptions of hundreds of freshwater and saltwater creatures. These pages are also full of mythical creatures, magical items, treasures, and plot hooks meant to be compatible with a variety of fantasy and role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. With some minor modifications, this book can also be used along with games set within science fiction, historical, and realistic genres. It can even be used as a standalone fishing game. See? Solo play. We're in the money. We're in the money. You can suck my dick because it's got solo play. There you go. Rule 0. Come on. Rule 0 is make it work and make it fun. We're solo play. It's got solo rules. Basic steps. Cast. The angler rolls a d20 survival skill check to cast. Identify. If the cast is successful, the angler rolls a d100 to see what they hooked. Land. The angler attempts to reel in their catch by participating in a contest of strength or dexterity using whichever modifier is lower. Weigh. If they successfully land the fish, the angler rolls to check the weight of their catch. Harvest. Finally, the angler decides whether to harvest the fish or to release it. I like it. Boat capacity and cost. I love it. Harvesting, total weight versus harvest weight, preparing your catch. You have 48 hours to prepare your catch to prevent spoilage. Oh, we got to do a full review of this goddamn book. Steps for fishing with spears, bows, and nets. Here's the freshwater fish. Where's the solo play? The solo play. Where's the solo? I'm just looking for the solo play. Alternative rules. Standalone game. This book can be used to play a fishing-themed one-shotter as the basis for a standalone game, i.e. not as part of a large adventure. This is a great way to utilize this book outside your regular sessions so that fishing trips do not become an intrusion on the main storyline. For the standalone version, we recommend using a more realistic approach to landing. See complex landing mechanic. Each player should take turns casting, blah, 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 blah. Solo play. You do not need friends to use this book. That's good. I don't have any friends. To play alone, simply play with the standalone rules. Instead of competing with your friends, try to see how many points you can earn in a single round of 5 casts. There's no bonus for catching the most or largest fish, but try to set a personal records for a number of fish caught in a round and the largest fish. You may want to keep your records in a notebook to compare for future games or with other solo players. Cool guy. You can also keep a record of the largest fish or each type you catch on your own scoreboard sheet. And then people will beat the crap out of you and they'll make fun of you. They're laughing at you, kid. They don't think you're cool. They're laughing at you. A book like that, but with cornhole, and you can take all my money. Yes. No, listen. Mario Heat, what CW Chandler is going to be doing in this whole RPG thing? Basically, first of all, culling for bringing in the sheep. More cult members. Come on. Here we go. Turn off your brain. Here we go. I'm insane. We got babies to steal. Trying to steal babies. Come on now. Just the choice nags. Black market, baby. Come on now. I'm kidding. I gotta make money. This is OGL, SRD, man. Don't blame me. Blame WOTC. You gonna blame me? Blame WOTC. I'm out here stealing babies. You think I want to be stealing babies? Blame WOTC. Step 1, buy all the RPG books. Step 2, cross out all the relevant information, change one vital detail. Fishing, cornhole. There you go. Change the author's name, boom, Bob's your uncle. Make all the money. Crazy like a fox. Fox News. Speaking of Carl Urbanski, kidding. Listen, folks, I love you. I love you. I love you. We've been here for 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 46 seconds. Why? Listen, we practice Grateful Dead rules here, which means this is that I went on and talked for an extraordinary amount of time for a whole bunch of different things. Wow. That would be either any of those little things would be greatly served by being broken down into their own little sections, but that'll never happen unless someone takes it upon themselves. We practice Grateful Dead rules here. If you want to take any section of this video and break it down and do things with it. Oh, I forgot to introduce my co-host, Vanilla Lantern. My new co-host, Vanilla Lantern. You like him? Hip-hop style. Anyway, Vanilla Lantern. I like him. We're going to, you could always go, get in here, get involved, edit it up, feel free to take a clip, share it on social media or don't, whatever. It is what it is. We continue to live. We continue to laugh. We continue to love. Read a spiritual text every day. Chant every day. Worthwhile form of meditation. It'll turn you into a little musician. You'll be able to participate in the grand jam of life as we cycle through the great grand adventures. And it's a hell of a time. Okay? And reading the spiritual texts will give you some good stuff to reflect and inform on. You read plenty of stuff that's not true, that informs you and informs your life. It doesn't need to be true. There's plenty of nonfiction, fiction books that have given you plenty of things to think of. So even if the stuff doesn't turn out to be, true, it's still there's a reason why people keep on coming back to this information and reflecting and reading upon it, again and again. And again, I'm not telling you what books to regard as spiritual or religious. I'm just telling you that spiritual and religious when you see it. And if it resonates with you as good for you and good with you, then it works. And I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody's CW Chanter and his erstwhile co-host, dual wielding vanilla lantern. It's difficult to handle weaponry. Get in there, you son of a bitch. Then we'll pull the card. We'll do the thing. Oh, come on, you motherfucker. What are you, a sex toy? Come on now. Get in there. Jesus. There you go. Sound effects must be amazing. Paul Masson. Anyway, there you go, buddy. All right. All right. May you be the scourge of 1,000 Barbie dolls. Vanilla lantern. All right. You guard the books. I'll guard the home front. Sound good? Sound like a plan? No? All right. Stand? No? These primal age guys, these DC guys that look like He-Man figures, they were made by Funko, but for whatever reason, in their wisdom, Funko decided they didn't want to give them foot pegs. They don't have holes in their feet where you can put them on a stand. I don't know if that's like the original He-Mans. I guess didn't have them either. Maybe that's why they did it, or if they were just figuring that everyone would just collect them in box. But I don't do that. I hate inbox collecting. I like to play with things because I am special. Stand, you white booted wonder. There you go, buddy. Yeah, and you saw none of that because it was out of frame. And who cares? Anyway, I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you I loved you today, somebody just did that. Somebody CW Chanter, yada yada. We got our card, so there we go. And then boom, here we go. We got a card. From the beautiful creatures to row. 8 of Pentacles. Practice. The 8s are always a trip because the 8s, like the infinity symbol on its side, we're there in the suit, reflecting on the suit's eternal energy. So the suit's eternal energy can be a lot to deal with. The ace of the suit is just that suit's energy, qua its energy, and it's just there, and we're enjoying its purity. But the 8s are like we're in that suit, and it's like the notion of, and the Pentacles, it's earth, and it's nature, and it's reality, and it's the physical manifest, and that's wonderful, but it takes work, and it's never ending, and it's always recycling, and that's beautiful, and that's a bounty. But at the same time, like Adam and Eve leaving the Garden of Eden, the means of your continued livelihood is available, but the means of your continued livelihood is practice. It's work. It's gonna take effort. We're gonna have to keep on going here and working here, but there's stuff to work. And the promise is this, is that the universe says there's stuff to work. And even if you fall asleep on this planet, somewhere in the cosmic space dust, we know life is possible. Therefore, we know that it is probable that life will occur as it has occurred here elsewhere. And the practice will continue because we call it Earth, but the manifest reality of manifest reality is everywhere in the universe. It is that which is physically manifest. And it can be a chore, and it can be a tough, and we can feel stranded here, and we can feel trapped here with the necessities of feeding this body and breathing through this body and needing to keep this body hydrated. But when confronted with the realities of the realities, we can learn how to deal. We can learn how to work with it, even though it may take practice, even though it may take work. And we certainly worked here, baby. I mean, I was here for a while with you guys. So hopefully you got a lot out of this. I certainly did. I certainly enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed myself. And but the time has come to bid you all fond adieu. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope I get new people come around, or maybe one day, who knows. And we will see it when we see it. We gotta find the fishing stream first before we can see it. I love you all. Be good till the next one. Spread the word. Let people know I still exist.